1, 2, 3. If I break down just exactly who I am, it all starts with the fiddle. And for me, fiddle playing started with bluegrass music. And bluegrass music started in Kentucky. And maybe that's why every time I step foot in this state and head to this little cabin in the woods, it feels like coming home.
Whew. That one did feel good.
That happened so fast. And to my knowledge, I don't think we know that buck. You gotta love the rut. There's an old saying that I've always really liked that says, home is not a place, it's a feeling. And once again, Kentucky has definitely not disappointed in that department. But before I tell you the rest of this story, I want to revisit the many journeys that have led to it. You see, over the past 7 years, I have had 7 distinctly different journeys here in Kentucky. And over those 7 years, I have learned a lot about the bluegrass state, and it all started with a simple turkey hunt. And I'll let this gobbler show you why it was one of my favorite turkey hunts ever.
He just beat the crap out of that decoy. I've seen that on TV, but it's never happened to me. It's so much fun. It's my favorite turkey hunt ever.
If you know me, then you know when I tag out, I go looking for something local to eat. And this trip was no different because I went off in search of the legendary Kentucky Hot Brown. Now you may ask yourself, what the hell is a Kentucky Hot Brown? Well, let me tell you. The Hot Brown is an open-faced sandwich. You take a piece of toasted rye bread, put some turkey on it, cover it in Mornay sauce, bake it for a few minutes, slap some bacon and some tomatoes on top, and voila! Of course, everybody's mama and every restaurant around here has their own special way of making it, and it's no different in Bowling Green, Kentucky at Mariah's Restaurant, where I met with General Manager Jody.
We're in Kentucky, and there's one thing that, in my eyes, Kentucky's always known for, and that's the hot brown. And you guys have had it on the menu.
It started kind of being a slow seller maybe 20 years ago, so we took it off, and you thought that we closed the restaurant. Everybody wanted the hot brown back.
Right.
Before long, I found myself back in the kitchen with Chef Scott, who showed me how deceptively simple the hot brown really is. Step 1 is to butter up a piece of rye bread with a lot of butter. Then you toast it. Next, you warm up some thick pieces of turkey, but you don't overcook them. Then the turkey goes on the bread. And now for the best part, you top it all with thousands of calories worth of Mornay sauce and bacon and tomatoes. And after all that, the moment of truth has finally come, because it's time to take a taste of an authentic, all-American heart attack on a plate.
That is fantastic. What makes it is that cheese sauce. Yeah. I mean, yep. God bless America.
So is the hot brown what you thought it would be?
The hot brown is everything I thought it would be.
Good.
And even better with a nice glass of whiskey. Cheers.
And not just any whiskey, I'm talking about bourbon whiskey, which was born in Kentucky. Within the triangle that is made up between Louisville, Lexington, and Elizabethtown, there are over 10 major distilleries and dozens of smaller ones. And the unofficial path between them all is called the Bourbon Trail. And that's a kind of trail that I want to travel down. One of the reasons that this area makes such good whiskey is because of its clean water supply. The ground in this area is predominantly limestone, and as water filters through that limestone, it removes all of the iron and adds calcium to the water, which helps to give bourbon whiskey its unique taste.
94 proof of awesomeness.
On my journey down the Bourbon Trail, I visited Heaven Hill, Bartons, and Four Roses all in one day, and I learned a lot about the history of bourbon and the process that is used to make it.
This is what they call the tail box. This is the white liquor coming straight out of the still. We're talking about 145 to 150 proof coming out of here at 25 gallons a minute. You can imagine if I could just put my face right under there, it's like going back to college. And I guess they're gonna let me taste a little bit too. Wow. That would do the trick.
That is so cool.
I hunt whitetails here in Kentucky every year, but there's one animal here in the bluegrass state that you can hunt, if you're lucky, once in a lifetime. Kentucky has the biggest elk herd east of the Mississippi, but up until the 1990s, they were extinct. The state of Kentucky ambitiously reintroduced elk between 1997 and 2002, and today they have a huntable herd. But getting a tag to hunt a bull elk in Kentucky is like getting a Willy Wonka golden ticket. And by some stroke of luck that still completely blows me away, I was able to score one. And if I'm honest, it was the toughest elk hunt I've ever done.
I've got a bull bugling right over here, like 300-400 yards just down the holler here.
After 6 days of hard mosquito-infested hunting, I had only heard and seen one other bull. So when I crested the hill and saw this cow, I got excited. But when I finally saw the bull that I had heard bugling hiding behind a tree, well, I got really excited. The sheer toughness of an adrenaline-filled rutting bull elk is something that blows my mind. The fact that this bull just took a 200-grain federal premium straight to the Boilermaker and is still walking is incredible.
He's down right there. 6 days of grinding. It's been hot, mosquitoes, thorns. I'm in Kentucky. I just shot an elk in Kentucky. Not Idaho, not Montana, not Wyoming. Kentucky.
The story of the Kentucky elk would not have happened if it weren't for the Kentucky coal mines. You see, reclaimed coal mines are the perfect elk habitat, and the state and coal mining companies work together to make it happen. And I figured as long as I'm already on coal mining property, I might as well go check out a coal mine. And as you can see, I was welcomed with open arms.
There are times in your life where you know you're out of your comfort zone. I'm sitting next to this fine gentleman, David, here, in my white overalls. I know that this is one of them. I'm going down in a coal mine. I'm from Minnesota. I'm not supposed to be going down in coal mines. I love you, Mom. If I don't make it, I love you.
Now, I've met some hardworking people in my life, but on that day when I traveled a mile underground in pure darkness, shut off from the rest of the world, I knew that I might be meeting some of the hardest working people in all of America. Just getting to the work site was a job in itself. And then when you realize that these guys pull out 5,500 tons of raw material a day, I think my point is proven. I've come to believe that sometimes a person doesn't choose the work they do, but rather it chooses them. The guys down here are a special breed of worker, and most of them that I met started mining right out of high school, and often it's something that's been passed down from generation to generation.
My father worked in the mines, my grandfather, as did my great-grandfather.
Are your kids down here too?
I've got one son who works down there, yeah.
So that's 5 generations of people.
Yeah.
You were right out of high school
Yeah.
coming into this? Probably all of them straight out of high school. Have you ever thought about doing anything different?
Don't know nothing different. That's all I've ever done. I like it, enjoy it.
You went from being a high schooler to the boss.
Yeah.
Did you ever see that coming?
No.
You're still thinking about it like, I can't believe they put me in charge?
Yeah.
You're a tougher man than I am, I can tell you that
I
much.
don't know about that.
That's a man. I'm just a guy in a white suit.
I've only worn a hard hat with a light on it twice in my life. Once was here in eastern Kentucky, down in the coal mine with the miners. The other time was on the other side of the state, at the famous land between the lakes, with a pack of dogs and a bunch of raccoon hunters.
So this is my official coon hunting hat.
It is.
I'm honored. Thank you. I feel like I'm being crowned the Coon King. There we go. Am I in?
You ready to go, man?
Part of the club?
Yes, sir.
Pretty cool. You guys know what's going on, don't you? What's wrong, guys? Y'all ready to go? Never before did whining sound so good.
When I was growing up, my grandma always told me that nothing good happens after midnight, which as an adult I've come to believe is pretty much true, with the exception of this. Because seeing these dogs tree this raccoon was one of the coolest things I've ever done. Now, I was just hoping I wouldn't miss.
Woo! That's my first ever coon with a dog. That is cool. Guys, we worked hard for that, and it's only the first one of the night. That right there is probably the most redneck thing I've ever done, and I loved it.
Well, now that Kentucky has brought out a deeper part of my redneck side, it's no surprise what comes next. Local food. And this area is famous for a place called Patty's 1880 Settlement, which serves up legendary pork chops and pies.
It's a lot like my hair. Look. Mile high. You could start calling this Nick Pie.
I found out that Patty's is also legendary for its charismatic owner and its bathroom.
I got the best dang ladies' bathroom around. They're like horse stalls. I made them like old horse stalls that the kids made.
Because if there's one thing ladies love, it's horse stalls.
For reading material for the folks. Old, authentic magazine stuffs and stuff that can, so you can, while you're sitting there, you can read. Isn't that keeping with what Mom would have wanted with all the cedar in this school?
Absolutely.
I mean, you know.
It's also the first time that I've ever been invited into a ladies' bathroom by another
I
man.
tell you what, I don't come in often myself.
You gotta love the rut. It's 7 o'clock in the morning. I've only been hunting an hour. My first day of rifle season and I'm tagged out. November, baby.
On some hunts, I'm definitely luckier than others, and today all of the stars definitely aligned. But over the years, other hunts in Kentucky I have had to work a little bit harder for. And such was the case when I showed up in Paducah, Kentucky to hunt some ducks. Because when I arrived with my boat, it was raining cats and dogs.
And so we'll take a right into that driveway and then back up into the road and back down it.
And I mean really raining. So much so that the river had gotten so high that I had to put my boat in someone's front yard. Don't believe me? That's their mailbox.
Well, that's first. Water up over the doors. The things we do to kill ducks.
The silver lining here, though, as all duck hunters know, is bad weather can often mean good hunting. And this day in the blind hunting with my buddy David Black and his son was epic.
We've been waiting for that all day. One duck here, one duck here. You get 4 to finish.
If you don't like that, just go on to the house.
I ain't going to the house.
Well, after that hunt, guess where I went? To the house. The Freight House, to be exact, a world-class restaurant in downtown Paducah, owned and operated by this woman, James Beard House chef and TV star Sarah Bradley. Her restaurant is all farm to table, but I went there hoping that she could do duck blind to table as well.
We've got duck here that we shot yesterday.
It's so beautiful.
When you start a new recipe like this, where do you like to start?
So I usually go into the walk-in first. What do I have that needs to be used? And I usually start with this part of the dish, the vegetables. And then once we find something, we'll look for a farmer or that protein to complement all of that stuff.
So it starts with the perishable stuff, and then you put the meat with that. That's cool.
Fermented mustard, parsley, caper, lemon, brown butter sauce, local mushrooms, raw mushrooms, and we finish it with a little watercress and lemon juice.
Fantastic. We have to name it. How about Nick's breasts?
Nick's breast. I like it. Nick's Ballard breast.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Here's the Nick's breast.
Thanks. And thank you for coming to Paducah. We appreciate it.
I'm glad to be here. Over the past 7 years, Kentucky has taught me a lot about hunting, food, people, music, small town living, and cars. You see, the legendary Corvette is built just a few miles from our deer camp in Bowling Green, Kentucky, which is also home to the National Corvette Museum and a world-class racetrack. And it's here on that racetrack that a lifelong dream came true. I'm gonna get to drive my own Corvette as fast as I want on that racetrack, but not before some much-needed instruction from this guy.
I think we're gonna hop in the burb here and we're gonna go do some orientation laps, just kind of get you a feel for where the track goes and what you're doing.
First, we drove around in the Suburban, and then in my Corvette, and then to my surprise, after just 20 minutes, they cut me loose to do whatever I want as fast as I want on the racetrack. Yep, you heard me right. All by myself as fast as I want. Yep, I agree. I'm probably about to get that poor guy fired. Here goes nothing. I'm by myself on the track, on a racetrack for the first time in my life. I've had about 20 minutes of instruction is it. And now I'm about to go 120 miles an hour on a racetrack, so here goes nothing. I suppose I better put my seatbelt on, come to think of it. Yep, somebody's getting fired. Right there, what just happened is my car got squirrely. You know why my car got squirrely? Because I quit paying attention to what Matt taught me. I started letting my balls do the talking instead of my head. Guys that let their balls do the talking usually end up crushed into a wall. November, baby. As Paul Harvey would say, and now for the rest of the story. I hunt Kentucky's whitetail deer season every year with the same group of guys, and it's my favorite thing that I do every year. I don't always fill my tag, but I always fill my belly, and I always laugh a lot with some of my best friends. We may not have killed a deer today, but we're gonna get fat. Today, it's my first day hunting the Kentucky gun season, and the rut is in full swing. It's 25 degrees and as still as can be outside. After looking at the cameras, I changed my plans this morning and decide to hunt a blind we call the condo overlooking a big food plot. Just after daylight, I see a young doe, then a small buck, and then a few minutes later, this buck. I'd come to this blind because I was looking for a specific deer, but after checking this guy out in my binos, it definitely was not him. In fact, it's a deer that we have never seen before. But when he came walking into that food plot, the decision to reach for my Frankie was easy. Right. That happened so fast. And to my knowledge, I don't think we know that buck. You gotta love the rut. Home is not a place, it's a feeling. I wasn't born or raised here in Kentucky, but like I've said over and over again, it feels like home. Over the years, it's the people, the places, the friendships, the ups, the downs, the hills, the hollers, the food, the animals, the bourbon, the small towns, the rush, the rides, the thrills, the mishaps, the stories, the laughs, the feathers, and the fur.
Look at this.
They have all made Kentucky feel like home.
I have been hunting whitetails a long time. Shot a lot of deer, but this one's special for a lot of reasons. First off, at home, home team. But second off, I've always wanted to shoot a deer that has the touching beams like that.
If what I said is true, that home is not a place, it's a feeling, well, what I'm feeling right now, and I've felt so many other times here in Kentucky, it makes me feel like there's no place I'd rather be.
It's so special. And as many times as I do it, it'll never get old. Go all over the world, hunt all sorts of stuff, but whitetails at home, nothing beats it, especially in November.
Thank you, Kentucky, for once again making me feel at home.